When Prince of Persia The Lost Crown was announced, I was skeptical to say the least. At first, I thought it would be an homage to the 2D platforming roots of the series. Then the price was revealed, and I was sure Ubisoft was setting this game up to fail. Along with the indefinite delay of the Sands of Time remake, the Prince of Persia series seemed to be in a pretty bad place. There wasn't any way this game could be a success. Right? Right? Lost Crown takes the form of a 2D platformer, with an emphasis on exploration. It falls into the Metroidvania category of games, alongside titles like Hollow Knight. Your map will be an indispensable asset as you progress through the game's sprawling environments. Thankfully, you're able to place markers, complete with photos, to keep track of areas and items that are currently out of your reach, or puzzles that you can't solve at the moment. A tool that will prove most useful when seeking out the game's myriad collectibles and hidden pathways. Alongside exploration, there's also combat and the aforementioned puzzles. I'll talk about each in more depth later. You're able to tailor the difficulty of multiple facets of gameplay, as well as enable a more guided game mode. I played on the preset hard setting with the guidance turned off, although there is a bevy of options available to make the game enjoyable for any player. As is usual for these kinds of games, your abilities are limited at the start of your journey. You can sprint, and you have a slide to dodge attacks and enter low passageways. The opening hours will show you how to use these simple techniques to traverse some linear areas. You'll notice right away that moving is fluid and responsive. Exploring feels fun, and the more abilities you gain, the easier and quicker it becomes to get around. Of course, the game also has warp points at set locations you could use to traverse the game quickly. In classic Prince of Persia fashion, you'll come across hallways lined with traps and other hazards that must be overcome. These range from simple to quite complex. You'll need fast reactions and mindfulness of all the tools at your disposal to make it through. Sometimes these challenges can be daunting or even frustrating, but eventually you'll be stringing together impressive air dashes and other abilities with ease. Even though you might fail a lot when you learn how to approach each set of traps, the cost of failure isn't too steep. You respawn on the last piece of solid ground you were on, with minimal to no health loss based on your difficulty settings. If you do lose all your health, you'll respawn at the last walk tree you interacted with. These trees act as checkpoints. Resting at one refills your health and potions and allows you to change the amulets you have equipped. Amulets being accessories that provide benefits to combat and exploration, such as increasing health or resistances to certain effects. There is a large amount of them, each with their own unique effects. Admittedly, I didn't use many during my playthrough, but there is a lot of options for varying playstyles. You can find more of these amulets by exploring or purchasing them, along with other collectibles such as health upgrades and materials needed to enhance weapons and other amulets. Overall, exploration and movement feel really smooth, and weaving through traps is quite thrilling, although at times, failing at a single challenge repeatedly might be aggravating, and towards the end of the game, the amount of tools available may seem overwhelming when you're making split-second reactions. While you explore the world of Lost Crown, various creatures will stand in your way. Naturally, you'll have to fight them off. You have a basic ground-based combo, which can be chained into various other moves, such as the charge attacks, or launching enemies into the air where they can't fight back. However, when they do fight back, their attacks are well telegraphed, which allows you to parry or dodge them. Some attacks cannot be parried, and some lead to a unique counterattack when parried at the right timing. Both of these have their own visual cues. A short while into the game, you'll pick up a bow, which allows for range attacks. Even when out of arrows, the bow itself can be thrown, so you always have access to ranged combat, albeit at a slower rate of fire. While you deal damage and parry attacks, you'll build up your Athra gauge, which can be spent to unleash an Athra surge, devastating attacks or techniques, such as a brutal thrusting attack that can pierce multiple enemies at once, to creating a healing field. These can change the tide of battle in your favor. On the note of healing, the game wears its Dark Souls inspiration on its sleeves. You have a set amount of potions you can drink to recover health. Once used up, you must rest at a walk tree to replenish them. These can be upgraded for both the amount you can carry and the amount of health they heal. Amulets can change various factors such as extending your basic combo, giving you temporary health, or my favorite ability, creating a space that slows down enemies after a successful parry. Where the game really shines, however, is in its boss encounters. Most of them have various phases that will keep you on your toes as you learn how to dodge and parry their attacks, weaving in attacks of your own to chip away their health. These fights are frantic and fast-paced, and never feel as if they drag on for too long. Outside of the required combat encounters, though, there never is a reason to fight, barring the fact that the enemies drop the game's currency, which makes avoiding most enemies an option if you so choose. You can find ingots while exploring, which are used to upgrade your weapons, as well as coins for upgrading amulets. Choosing from the dozens of amulets and after surges, as well as using the abilities you obtain, you can find a playstyle that works for you. On the hard difficulty, I found most basic enemies to be no issue, barring a few frustrating encounters. The bosses, while challenging at times, were never much of a roadblock, and once you take some time to learn their attack patterns, they can be defeated quite soundly. They may not have as much of a presence as exploration or combat, but there are still some puzzles that need to be solved in order to progress. The few puzzles required to complete the game won't leave you scratching your head. They're easily solved by environmental clues or simple reasoning. You can also stumble upon optional puzzles scattered throughout the game that offer a slightly more complex problem. Solving these often spawns a chest with a collectible or money in it. Puzzles you come across do get marked on your map, making it easier to return to them if you need an ability you don't possess yet. While they may not be a major component of the game, the puzzles offer a brief break from fighting or platforming. The exploration, combat, and occasional puzzle all blend together to make an enjoyable and rewarding experience. Completing platforming challenges and difficult boss battles fills one with feelings of accomplishment. I've touched a lot on the gameplay and not much about the plot of the game. I would like to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, so I won't talk about it too much. While perfectly serviceable, the story doesn't really stand out. Sargon, Varum, and a few other characters are memorable, while others you forget they exist until running into them again. The game itself may have forgotten about one character in particular. I played the game on PC and it ran very well. I can't recall any instances of FPS drops or a poor performance. Granted, I do have a pretty decent PC, so your mileage may vary in this regard. The game also looks great, with detailed backgrounds and foregrounds. Characters are expressive, and the animation and cutscenes can be really flashy and quite the spectacle to watch. I did encounter some glitches, the most egregious being an early game cutscene repeating or returning to an area at a later date and time. Other than that, it was mostly animation errors, which were good for a laugh. What could have been another misstep with the Prince of Persia series turned out to be anything but. With 3 updates recently announced, the future looks bright for Lost Crown. If you're a fan of Prince of Persia, Metroidvanias, or both, Lost Crown is worth playing. If you watched this far, thank you so much. Please leave a comment and tell me how you feel about the game. I'd love to hear your opinions. I hope you have an amazing day, and bye-bye for now.